DreAllDay.com.
Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Topic is judging the point and not the person. This concept came to me because I saw this guy on The View named Eli Mistow. He just put out a book called Allow Me to Retort. And I haven't read his book yet. I will read his book. I want to see what he's talking about. Didn't agree with the general premise of what he was putting out on the show, but he was on The View, which is a show that, they're allegedly, they're talking about, issues and topics and things like that. But the show is called The View, singular, The View. So there's one point of view that you can have on that show. Anyway, he was on the show and he was talking about the Constitution specifically. And I'm assuming that that's part of his book. He's explaining why the U.S. Constitution needs to be destroyed. Now, we know the U.S. Constitution came out in 1776, so that thing is 250 some years old. He said, his actual words, that the Constitution is trash. And then he started talking about, and then they added, the woman, I think it was Joy Behar, she said, wait, what did you just say? And he said it again, the Constitution is trash. And then he started talking about the people who created the Constitution, the white men who created the Constitution, they were racist, they were slave owners, that they didn't go to black people and ask them what they thought about the Constitution. Therefore, because these guys were racist and because they were slave owners, that we need to throw out the Constitution and we need to come up with a new document that is more representative of the world that we live in nowadays. First of all, the U.S. Constitution has been out since 1776. I'm assuming sometime around that time. That's when the U.S. became the U.S. So maybe it came out a little bit before that, but it's been out for a long time. So we go to 1976, that's 200 years, then you got another 24, and then plus this 22. So it's been a pretty long damn time, is the point. Everybody understands that. So if the U.S. Constitution has been out for over 200 years, this document has been out for 200 years, we have the world that we live in now. Even if you think America is not perfect, which it is not, even if you think there are ways that things can be better, which they can, a document that has lasted over 250 years, I think we would have to agree that there's something they're doing right. There's something in that document that is right and correct and that worked. And I think we had to give credit to the genius of the people who put together a document that they didn't know any of the world that we live in today was going to exist, yet they created a document that still stands over 200 years later. I think we have to give credit to the document itself for being able to stand as long as it has. Now, Mr. Mistow's point, and I'm assuming he talks about this in his book, he said it on The View, was that we need to throw away the document. And here's the interesting thing that I want y'all to notice, and this is why the topic here is judge the point, not the person. He started talking about why the guys who wrote the Constitution are racist and they were slave owners and et cetera, et cetera. He started basically moralizing about how bad these people are. And those of you who don't know what moralizing is, and it's an important point for this very topic, moralizing is when you look at another person and because you want to, I guess, put yourself above them, you start talking about all the things that they've done wrong, all the mistakes that they made. He cheated on his wife. He stole money from this person. He's a bad individual. This person went to jail. He did this. He lied about this. He didn't get the jab, whatever. You basically start talking about all the things that make another person not a good person. And that's your way of basically putting them down and putting you up. We call that moralizing. And we're going to talk about moralizing in a moment. This is what Eli Mistow started doing in his argument for why we need to get rid of the Constitution and create a new document. And here's why this is an inaccurate approach. The reason why this is an inaccurate approach is because his point was we need to replace the Constitution. His point was not we need to cancel the guys who wrote the Constitution. But in defending his point of replacing the Constitution, all he did was talk about the guys who wrote it. Well, who cares about the guys who wrote it if the thing that they wrote worked and it still works 200 plus years later? Why do we need to get rid of it? It doesn't make sense. So his argument didn't even fit his point. And that's the point that I'm making to all of you right here. This is what I mean when I say judge the point and not the person. So if this guy's argument is we need to replace the Constitution, okay, fine. Tell me what's wrong with the Constitution. he didn't say that. He started talking about what was wrong with the people who made the Constitution. So it's kind of like if I write a book, right? I've written books. Let's say you take my book, Work on Your Game. It's a great book, and everybody's loving the book, and they're talking about how amazing my book is, but then somebody doesn't like me because something that I did, or I cussed somebody out 10 years ago, or something that happened that they don't like about me, and they want to hold up against me and say, well, forget this guy, fuck Dre, but the book itself is still the book. Like, the book that I wrote is not canceled out by anything that I personally did. Just because somebody you know of did something about their personal self that you don't like, that doesn't cancel out the accomplishments that that person had. So if a person is, let's say for example, some basketball player is a great basketball player, and we can use a live example. So John Stockton, y'all know who John Stockton is, right? Hall of Fame basketball player. He played on the Dream Team in 1992. When he retired, he was the NBA's leader in steals and assists. He's one of the greatest players of all time. He's in the top, I believe he was in that top 75 players of all time, and he should be. If he wasn't, he definitely should have been. I think he pretty much was. And John Stockton didn't get the jab, and he's gone on a record. I've heard him in interviews and talking about it, like, I didn't want to get the jab, and he's done his own research, and he saw some stuff that he didn't really like about it, and he's been outspoken in talking about how he doesn't like the jab and didn't want to get it, and he's not getting it. And there were some people who tried to trash him for it, but he's not on social media, so he didn't really get trashed that much. But here's the thing. John Stockton not getting the jab in 2022 or 21 or 20, whatever, has nothing to do with the fact that he was a great basketball player. And if I'm teaching a young kid how to be a point guard in basketball, I'm going to use some examples of John Stockton to teach him. Why? Because John Stockton was damn good as a basketball player. Whether I agree with him or disagree with his decision to get a jab has nothing to do with how much I could learn from him if I'm trying to learn how to play point guard in basketball, because he was one of the best ever at playing point guard in basketball. So, and on the flip side, you could take somebody like Magic Johnson. And since Magic Johnson's more on the woke side, people would basically apologize for Magic Johnson. But shit, Magic Johnson had a wife, cheated on her, was having sex with who knows how many women, probably hundreds of women at different times, unprotected, got HIV, could have endangered his wife by still having unprotected sex with her, even though he had HIV, and luckily she didn't get it and he survived all these years. But which one is worse? And this is my point. I'm not moralizing against Magic Johnson. Most people don't do that. But if you want to moralize, then you got to moralize in all directions. And here's the problem with moralizing: is number one, the problem with moralizing is, as the saying goes, he without sin shall cast the first stone. There's no human being, nobody watching this, not me, not you, not any of these people that I'm driving past right now. Nobody is qualified to moralize against another human being. Nobody. Why? Because we all have flaws. We all have things that we've done, and we all got stuff that we all got stuff we've been involved in our lives that we wouldn't want on the front page of a newspaper, right? Now, most of us probably aren't so famous that we got to worry about it, but if all of your business, everything, the positive and the negative, was all put on Front Street for the whole world to know about, how many people will be trashing you on social media? That's the first thing you got to ask yourself before you moralize about another person. The second reason why none of us should be moralizing is because how you feel about another person's personal personality or their character has nothing to do with their actual accomplishments and the things that they've done. So if I write a book and the book is amazing and the book is life-changing for you, even if you don't, and I end up doing something, let's say I go to jail for murdering somebody, or somebody's course you take, and that course helps you take your business to $10 million a year, and then the person who made that course, they go to jail for child pornography. Does that mean you should cancel out the $10 million that you're making from that course that you took? Of course not. You still gonna keep that money, ain't you? You ain't gonna get the money back just because the person that you got the information from, they happen to do something that you disagree with later, has nothing to do with the actual substance that they gave you at that point in time. So this is what I mean by judging the point, not the person. And on a more basic level these days, if somebody makes a point that's a good point, a salient point, a substantial point, even if you disagree with everything else that they're about, let's say you don't agree with their politics, you don't agree with who they support, you don't agree with 30 other things that they said, if somebody makes a good point right now today, that does not cancel out. That's not canceled out by the fact that you disagree with what they said yesterday and you disagree with what they said tomorrow. If I make a good point today and you love it and it makes a lot of sense and is useful for you, even if you hated the last 3 things I said and you hate the next 10 things I say after that, that does not cancel out the one thing that I said today that makes sense to you. This is a skill of critical thinking. Critical thinkers can understand what I just said and they can apply what I just said. People who are not critical thinkers, who base all their opinions and their beliefs and their actions and most of their words on emotion and how they feel about a person rather than whether what that person is doing or offering is useful for them. People who are not critical thinkers, all right, this is going completely over their heads. They don't want to hear this. They want to cancel this thing out. They only want to hear stuff from people who they already decided, I'm gonna agree with everything this person says. I'm gonna disagree with everything this person says. That is not critical thinking. All right, that kind of thinking. It keeps you small. It basically keeps you stuck in the same place your entire life. I personally will take a good idea from anywhere. I don't care where it comes from. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a business. I played a decade of professional basketball. If somebody here offers me an idea that I could use for my business, even if you've never run a business in your life, if your idea is good, I will take it and run with it, even though you are quote unquote unqualified to give me business advice. I'm still going to take your good idea and use it. Why? Because a good idea is a good idea. I don't care who said it. I play ball for a living. If somebody got an idea for me that can help me play ball better, even if you never played ball in your life, I'm going to take your idea and use it. Like when I used to hoop, I used to take whatever girl I was dating to the game with me and ask her what she thought about my game, even though I knew she didn't know a damn thing about basketball. Why would I do that? Because an observer who knows nothing, they're looking at it with fresh eyes and they might notice something. Again, even though they're not an expert, they're a complete amateur in the subject, they might notice something that a regular ball player, because they're trying to be an expert, they're trying to sound smart, right? They're going to tell me one way, but a person who doesn't know anything, they're just going to give me an innocent observation. It's like you bring a 5-year-old to look at your business. A 5-year-old might ask you a question that somebody with 20 years of experience might never think to ask because they're too smart to ask the question. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I mean when I say judge the point, not the person. You need to be objective enough and a critical thinker enough to look at a situation and say, all right, where's the substance in this situation regardless of who said it? It's not about who said something. You don't judge whether you accept something or not based on who said it. You judge it based on the value of the point. This is what a critical thinker can do. So if you didn't see my 2 episodes, I did a 2-part series on critical thinking on my podcast. If you didn't listen to it, it's episodes, I believe it was 1826 and 1827, but even if I got those numbers wrong, just go, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you listen to my podcast on the podcasting apps, just look up my name, Dre Baldwin, and then look up critical thinking. I'm gonna pull it up right now and see if I can tell you what episodes it was. It was episodes number 1826, 1827. So I had it right. So look up those 2 episodes. It is on YouTube. It's on all the podcasting apps, Spotify, Apple, all that. 1826, 1827. Listen to my 2 episodes on critical thinking so you can develop this skill. And you have this skill, but it's been beaten out of you by a lot of people over the years. I'm going to help you out with this. So judge the point, not the person. Work on your game. Oh yeah, 2 more things. Text me, get my daily motivation. My number's 305-384-6894. Send it out every single day free of charge. And secondly, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Join my Bulletproof Mastermind. You get access to all of my courses. You get my monthly Bulletproof Bulletin mailed to your doorstep every single month. That's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all